Virtual Racing School was developed to provide support to the next generation of sim racers. No matter if you're a rookie or veteran or what car or track you'll be racing, our goal is to provide training every step of the way. We found that iRacing can be quite difficult without proper training. There needed to be a way to prepare for on-track racing. With VRS, you can literally learn from the best sim racers in the world, including four-time NASCAR iRacing World Champion Ray Alfalla.
And Ray Alfalla is a four-time champion of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series.
Three-time iRacing Grand Prix World Champion Martin Kroenke.
Martin Kroenke becomes a three-time world champion.
Rallycross World Champion Mitchell de Jong.
Mitchell de Jong is now champion for the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Series.
And many other top sim racers. Data packs include everything you need to start learning. Our World Championship coaches create the data packs by setting a hot lap or a series of fast laps for you to compare, analyze, and replicate. Data packs also include a tutorial where the coach points out techniques they use to hit the fast lap. This gives you access to the latest driving techniques and setups before you even hit the track. Sign up for a free account and download the VRS telemetry logger. With this application running seamlessly in the background, your laps automatically start syncing to the VRS website. From there, you can analyze and compare two laps of your choice, whether it's your data, the coaches, or your teammates. VRS will automatically target improvement opportunities so you can get up to speed even faster. VRS also makes it easy for you to request and schedule one-on-one or group coaching sessions. These sessions can range from 30 to 90 minutes, and you can select the car, track, and setup combination of your choice. Visit virtualracingschool.com today to sign up and get started.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome once again to the greatest racing series on the planet. I do not say that lightly. It is true. The Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors, presented by RaceVoice, live right here on Apex Racing TV. This week, the drivers battle it out at Sonoma with the many hills and turns on this track custom made to upset the cars and their drivers. I'm your host and the series' biggest fan, Jim Hodgson. Alongside me on the mic today is the treasure of the Emerald Isle, the Sean Kelly of motorsports commentary, the supremely talented Mr. Jack Kanan. And in the production booth, it is Jonathan Grabowski, a.k.a. Johnny Grabs, who is under investigation for trafficking counterfeit Beanie Babies. Stop doing that, Johnny Grabs. Here in the States, it is something called the 4th of July. And Jack, I'm expecting to see some fireworks on the racetrack. What do you think?
I think so. We see it every week, but I think especially today, I think they're going to want to. Kind of put on an even bigger show here at Sonoma, which is interesting little circuit. It's not used too often within the official series, but nice to see that the SRF series is going there this week, and it is a fantastic little circuit as well. Very tricky. There's some real tricky corners in this one, especially that one that just came out of the double right, which is very, very slow. The S section as well. Those curbs will kill you if you take them in any way wrong, and some hard braking zones down into the hairpin, where we'll arrive at in just a moment. It was Kenneth Batley's taking us on a quick little tour before we go into the race, of course, but plenty of action to be expected as always in SRF, and yeah, looking forward to it. I mean, if the Nordschleife was absolutely fantastic, and if they can make a race out of that, then they can make a race anywhere.
Well, true enough, we did have some trouble when we were here last time. We had a big old pileup on lap 1, which caused a bunch of drivers to tumble down the results. Hopefully that will not be the case today. A somewhat light field. As I say, it is a holiday in the States, but nevertheless, we're going to have a whole lot of great racing. Interesting, though, of course, a light field for the Spec Racer Ford would be a gigantic grid for just about any other series. Quickly, though, I want to say thank you so much to RaceVoice, and then we'll get to the standings. RaceVoice is proud to be the exclusive sponsor of the Weekend Warrior Spec Racer Ford Racing Series. Take your driving to the next level with on-track audible performance alerts with RaceVoice and RaceVoiceSIM. You can hear miles per hour, turn entry and exit speeds, upshift alerts, and other performance metrics, which are selected and configured by you. Go faster with the speed of voice. Plus, Weekend Warriors get 50% off annual SIM pricing using the promo code of WW50. Check them out at www.racevoice.com. Thank you so much to those guys. We could not do it without them. And as I say, let's quickly look at these standings. We'll look at Spec 1 first. We've got just a few minutes left to go in our warm-up. As you can see, it is David Bohm at the top of the points. He's been having a great season so far, is Bohm, although a great driver has been ever since I started following these guys, which is a few seasons now. Ian Haycock's just behind, and Aero Nam rounding out the top 3 in Spec 1. Then in Spec 2, it is J.W. Miller, new to us, but he's certainly tearing it up out there, followed by Simon Mayer and Ian Gibson there in first, second, and third. Spec 2 drivers are, of course, the cars with their numbers over 200. You'll see them on track in just a moment. And the Masters, of course, it's Antonio Race. Now, Antonio Race has won Spec 2 and would be in Spec 1 as a result of winning Spec 2, but since he is he's a gentleman of some age, so he's allowed to race in the Masters, and he's winning that so far. From Kenneth Batley and Jeff Cantor there in second and third, but all of those races are pretty close, except for, Antonio Race. This being only the third round, seems to be more or less running away with it. We'll see him on track today, I believe. We raced together yesterday, but I don't see him in the start list, so he might not be racing with us today, but doing very well in the standings nevertheless. We just got a few
defending champion.
Yeah. Just got a few seconds left until we get this party started. You can see Naselli there turning in a 143. I think that's going to be the track must be pretty warm because we were seeing 141s and 142s during qualifying. But Naselli's certainly no slouch. And we should shortly see our grid for today, which I'm excited to check out. I think I know who might be at the top of the grid, but we'll wait to see.
I wouldn't couch chickens because we have a kind of surprise sometimes every once in a while. But wait and see. We're going to find out in just a second's time as the checkered flag comes out on practice, and we will get the grid for this week's race at Sonoma. See who's going to be taking the honours to this evening. We'll see in due course what it's going to be. As we just take over, get ready to go, and we'll get your grid in just a second. Here it is. It's Maurizio Naselli. How about that? On pole position for this race. Jason Perry lines up in second with Ian Haycock up in third. Great job from Ian. Then Yao Oliveira in P4. J.W. Miller in P5. Number, of course, but the numbers over 200 are Spec 2. So look how high those guys are running. Yao Oliveira and J.W. Miller. Great job from those guys. Miho Razgi in P6. Bill Kraus in P7, and Jeff Jacobson with Ken Batley and Michael Dobeck in P10. Ian Gibson, then Simon Meyer in P12 in the 308. Jerry McAreevy and Bobby West, then Paul Jackson and Florence Arabian. Mark Guillen and Ian Malone, Chris Murakami and Paulo Breme, Roland Wallbach, and look how far down he is. Aero Nom, 22nd. He had a disconnect from qualifying, we think, and has ended up really far down the order, so let's watch out for him. John Tusting in P23 and Darren Kuhn in P24 as drivers roll away for the formation lap. Tom Gradwell and Andreas Bertoni start 26th. Robert Eel and Alex Roggenbuch in P28. David Swig and Jeff Fritcher. Bob Kern and David Davidson. And then there's a few more to come just a second's time. But we call this a small grid. It's really not. It's still over 30 drivers, but there's a lot of big names missing, Jim. David Boehm's missing, and all the German guys are missing almost this week, which would, make an interesting championship. But Aero Nom is going to come from 22nd on the grid. That should be a fun watch.
Well, interesting enough, the timing seems to indicate that Florence Arabian and Aero Nam are ahead of Maurizio Naselli, and then Dobek just after that. So it'll be interesting to see how they actually look on track. I cannot see them yet because we had some confusion about the camera, so we can't quite see them yet, but when we do, we'll know who is actually leading this race.
Yeah, I believe it is Florence Arabian as we're looking at it. We're not sure what happened there, but definitely on board with the polls here. That is definitely Florence Arabian, so not sure what's going on with the timing there. But we'll find out in due course as the overlay will come up for us. But Florence Arabian is the man on pole in this one, and of course he had a fantastic result last time in Nordschleife as well. So
yeah, very
we'll
easy to pick
for those guys. And well, Aaron was way further up than we thought he was. You can see.
Yeah. Nam in P2 there, but yeah, easy to pick out Florence Arabian's car. He does not like that he was not allowed to use his livery. Because of various copyright laws. We're sorry about that, Florence. So in protest, he's made himself a purple livery, and it would be even brighter and more offending to the eye if he could choose a louder color. Unfortunately, that's about the worst he could do. So that's what that color is all about. Sorry about that, Florence, but copyright is copyright, I'm afraid. Leading the field here, and we should shortly go around the hairpin for the final time on this formation lap. And then we will be away and racing. I will let Jack go ahead and call it since he's so good at it. Take it away, Jack.
Well, let's see what happens. Florence Arabian will control the pace around the hairpin, and he can decide when the guys go. So Aeronom on the left-hand side of your picture, Arabian to the right, Naselli in the back. Here goes Arabian now. He guns it as they head across the start-finish line of the next round of the SRF Weekend Warrior Series. Florence Arabian leaves the field. They immediately go into single file as they come up through turn 1, rising up over the crest of the hill before they reach into turn 2. Looking almost clean so far. A little bit of a moment there in the background with a banging wheels with Bobby West up the inside of Jeff Richard. I think there was a little bit of contact made between the two of them, but they carry on, thankfully, with not too much damage. Getting a little bit stacked up here in the midfield as a couple of drivers trying to fight for space there in the background. That was Ian Malone and Simon Meyer, Chris Murakami, all those guys. We look now at the guys filing through this. We're using the Cup circuit, of course. We're peeling off to the right-hand side and using a shorter layout here, and they'll come straight onto the drag strip after this section. But we start from the front runners. Florence Arabian, Nom, Naselli, and Dobek already building a gap.
Indeed, they are. They do have a little bit of a gap back to West. As you say, there was a little bit of a moment back there in the field. Nom, it looks to be already sizing up Arabian. Of course, on this Spec Racer Ford, you got to be really careful with those cold tires, unlike the V, which we were all racing on yesterday, which is actually faster on the cold tires. Bizarre, I know, but that turn right there is very tough in this Spec Racer Ford, as is the top of the hill on the other side of the track, because this car has an open differential, which means you got to be careful and judicious with your application of the power. And we see Naselli there just closing up to the rear of Nom's car. I got all this from the driver's chat, by the way, before the race. This is one of the things that they're well, I don't want to use the word complaining, but it was one of the things that they were discussing before this week's race. Sonoma, very tough track. I think we're looking at Meyer there. Indeed, we are. Used to seeing him again in an orange car, but he's got a very different livery. And Hrasky having a little look at Malone there. I think this gap is probably going to sort itself out. I'm not sure Malone has the pace to stay where he is. Looking ahead toward Fritcher, just behind Bobby West's car. But Hrasky is going to try to make a move, I do believe. Now, this portion of the track, Jack, as you very well know, just so difficult to get up this hill, get the car stopped, and make this turn here. And it's even harder, I feel, in the Spec Racer Ford. You know, I could only be saying that just because I have trouble with it. That doesn't mean that these drivers do. They're all very good, unlike myself. But the top of the hill there, tough. And this second crest, impossible. And then this downhill braking zone with a turn at the end, also impossible.
It is a really hard circuit to get right, but there's one line through those corners. If you screw it up, you're going in the grass around the outside there. So it's a very fine line. Of course, using the Cup circuit, so not using the full layout. It's just using cutting off and joining the drag strip right here before they join up to that double right-hander. But this is a great spot for some overtakes here as they come up the hill. We're just having a look at Jason Perry going up the inside of Ian Haycox, or at least trying to. Haycox around the outside, leaves just enough room. On board with Perry, a little bit of door bang in there. They hang on to it though through the right-hander, and Haycox hangs on to that spot for now. They're fighting for position in Spec 1, of course. Up in front, of course, it is Ian Malone who's leading Spec 2, and Chris Murakami leads the Masters at the moment. And but overall lead still remains with Florence Raby. There is Ian Malone leading Spec 2 in front of Fraski and Simon Meyer, who is, of course, second in the just a single point. And thankfully for him, he's a couple good few positions up in front of JW Miller, who leads the championship by a single point going into this round. So could be a good result for him, as that was a spin in the background. That is Jason Perry, who has gone around in the background, who was just battling in this one. And he's ended up now getting back going down in 18th spot, it looks like. So Haraski looks like he wants to get through here. Jason Perry has carried on, thankfully, for him, and holds his place in now the 18th. He's in a lot of places there, 10 positions lost with one simple error in that last hairpin, which is really, really hard to get right. We're just going to have a quick look at it, and I think it's something we've all done in that bottom hairpin. You get it wrong. There's some tires on the inside as well, which are ready to claim you if you do anything wrong whatsoever. He looks at the inside, Haycock leaves some room, and he just, it's just a little over rotation on the way in. Pretty easy to do. Haycock saw him coming, but I think there's a little too much speed carried in Perry, but thankfully no damage.
You know, the worst thing about spinning at that part of the track is if you have to sort yourself out by cutting through that middle section, occasionally you can get a slowdown as well, which is just insult to injury there. And speaking of insult, I want to I want to take a closer look at Perry's livery in just a minute. I think those might be potatoes. I'm not sure. Well, here's our leading potatoes. Yeah, we'll take we can't quite, maybe if we do Johnny Grabs, if you could do the rear chase, maybe we could get a good look at what Perry is working with there. Those look like potatoes to me, Jack.
Well, I mean, I'm no expert, but that definitely looks like a potato in front of that car to Jason Perry. And I appreciate him carrying that, representing him. So he's on his way in P18, and he now has my favorite livery on the grid, so congratulations, Jason.
Well, fastest lap of the race so far from Dobek, whose livery includes the Bavarian flag. The German drivers were pleased with me last week for recognizing that correctly, those blue and white squares as the Bavarian flag. They weren't that thrilled with my German, however. Some pronunciation problems, according to them. But some no problems for Dobek currently, hanging on to this group of leaders. Now, these guys, Arabian Nam and Naselli, are just, well, they're a little bit the sort of aliens of this series. Dobek always gets good results, but to see him hanging on to these guys is a marked improvement, I believe. I'm proud to see him up there. Not only is he hanging on to Naselli, Jack, it looks like he could be, at some point, maybe thinking about trying to pass.
Yeah, he's certainly hanging on there on the back of his German counterpart, Maurizio Naselli, and doing a good job right now. The field being led by a Canadian at the moment. Jeff Fritcher, Bobby West going side by side in the background into the right-hander. I think Fritcher's got that done. Yes, he has. So he is through up to P5, and he now carries on his way. Bobby West. These guys are about 4 seconds off the back of that front train. So still some work to do to catch up to them, but they're kind of just on their own, really. In P5 and 6, 2 seconds back to Ian Malone, who runs in P7, but quite clear to see the fastest guys are just away with it up the front. Here's the Masters leader. There's Chris Murakami in P10, and very nice as one of the cones goes flying. I think I'm surprised the cones have lasted this long. A big look up the inside from Riho Razki up front there, and just about got it stopped. Ian Malone manages to stay in front for now. That hairpin causing problems. I think there's drivers having problems with getting the car stopped into that hairpin because it is way tighter than it looks, and it's very easy to carry too much speed into that corner. And a little look again from Krasky at the right hander, but that's not a place you can overtake unless you're alongside that whole way up the hill. But for now, Malone's hanging on very nicely to that Spec 2 lead, and he doesn't really need to worry about Miro Razki. He just needs to worry about Simon Meyer, who's the car behind him again. But he's doing well to hang on to P7 overall in a field this strong.
No question about it. As we mentioned at the top, and I think, Jack, you said this as well, but this is the battle for Spec 2 between Malone and Meyer, with Hraski in that sandwich. Hraski, of course, is a Spec 1 driver, so he's looking at the inside again of Malone. I think if I were Malone, I might just go on and let him have it. I mean, why not? But then again, I probably wouldn't because I don't want to give up any places because I'm vain. Simple reason. But anyway, cars with the numbers over 200 are Spec 2 and cars over 900 are the Masters. So races going on all over the timing tower. As I look at our timing, we've got lots of cars in the orange and the yellow, which means that battles are happening all over the track as they do. Look at those cars snaking their way around Sonoma. You just gotta love this series, folks. I'm not kidding when I say it's the best racing series on the planet. Looking here at Batley in the middle of a group of cars. He's looking at the rear of Perry's Potatoes. Batley's got Jacobson just behind, troubling him as well. Batley's looking to have a little look there. Well, if he can catch up to Perry, he can anyway. Gibson, and here goes. Perry's going to have a little look at Gibson on the hairpin here. As we see, Nam turned the fastest lap of the race so far. I kind of get the feeling that Nam is biding his time. But yeah, that hairpin is so tough, Jack, as you were just saying. The car just loves to rotate there as you're braking and trying to get it stopped and also turn. But now Perry is free to go and chase Oliveira. Now, Oliveira is in the number 222 car, is Joao Oliveira. I ran with him yesterday, and he took 4th place in the V race. So Oliveira, although he's in Spec 2, is no slouch of a driver, and I would expect to see him do very well over the course of the season, although I believe he is new to the car, is Oliveira. He's a friend of Antonio Reyes, so he's got that, well, as I sing his praises, he drives himself off of the track. Come on, Joao. You're killing me, pal. Oh, good times.
Yeah, there's a little kind of, these guys are all kind of stacked up in Spec 2 right there, Tusting, Miller, and Oliveira. They're kind of fighting for position. These are our front 4 in Spec 1 and overall. Florence Arabian leading the way still from Aeronom, Naselli, and Dobik. So no swap of position between these top 4 around here. It's a very tricky track to actually overtake at. So I think you're nearly better off just kind of sitting behind compared to the Nordschleife, where we're having multiple lead changes every single lap with the overspeed and so on. And still Florence Arabian's led every single lap so far. That's Aeronom having a little look up the inside, forced Arabian a little bit deep and got himself a better exit right there, but very confident on the brakes as Aeronom into that hairpin, carried so much speed into the corner, and is still able to get a great exit now, getting a great run up the hill, but we know that he's not going to go for an overtake here up the hill, unless you got to be really brave to try it there. Look at the camber change and the elevation change as well. The car just wants to swap ends all the time through that section, and you can see how much the elevation changes again through the left, blind right-hander at the top of the hill. And then normally we carry on straight onto that 90-degree right you see just behind the bollards, but we cut off to the right-hand side here. And this is the layout I believe the Rallycross actually used. So they use this layout right here. Then we'll cut up and over into a sweeping left to join the drag strip. So this is probably the prime overtaking opportunity, honestly. You can see, even just to see the inputs there of Florence Arabian, just little dabs of the brake the whole way through the corner, well, just to get the car settled and pointing in the right direction without understeering off the road as well, which is not what you want. Braking again for this right-hander, long right-hander as well, and then dropping into the S's again with the bit of a roller coaster of a lap through here. The S section is brilliant, but it seems very hard to follow. You can see the brake inputs. It's interesting to look at, just little dabs of the brake, no big inputs, just dabbing the brake the whole way through the corner just to get the car to rotate and stop understeering.
Great battles going on all over the track. I think we've got a pretty good looking battle between Ian Haycox and Ian Gibson. They're battling 15th and 14th. There they are. Well, something's happened to Hrasky. He's off the track. He must have. We're going to try to have a look at a replay here. We're just going to look at battles down the timing tower. Here's Hrasky. What happened to him? This next turn, something just terrible happened. Ooh, well, seems okay. Oh, that's just got to be, Jack, I don't know what to call that, but just a momentary loss of concentration. There's no reason to drive off of there, especially not a driver of Hrasky's caliber. But here is Gibson, who's got himself behind Perry. So Perry's gotten around Gibson, and now Gibson is going to come under pressure from Batley and Bertoni. And Bertoni all over the rear of Batley's car. We haven't seen too much of Bertoni. We've seen some great results from him before. So lots of talent, lots of pace. wouldn't surprise me at all to see him able to get around. Batley, of course, a great driver as well. All these guys are good. But now we've got this 3-driver train, and it takes a lot of skill. Oh, Bertoni, I don't know about this, pal. He's going to try to pass them both through this big carousel as we get back down onto the drag strip. You just have to be so careful with the car there because it wants to rotate, much as it does on every single part of the track at all times. But Batley manages to, or excuse me, Bertoni manages to get it done, gets around Batley. It looked for a moment there as though he was going to try to get on the inside of Gibson during that same sort of transit of the carousel as well, but that didn't quite happen. And now Batley being threatened in the rear from Malone. So Malone was previously leading this crew and has given up a few places. You wonder if he had a little bobble maybe at some point. Certainly possible to do. I was practicing with these guys a few minutes ago on this track in this car. I almost couldn't complete a lap, just spinning off all over the place. Shameful behavior, Jack. You would have been ashamed of me.
Bertoni's looking now with a big dive up the inside on Gibson, and he gets another place for Andreas Bertoni. And certainly using the power of that livery, it's worked well in the past for him, and it's certainly bringing him up the order again. Batley fancies a chance to get through on Gibson on the inside. That's not easy to do. Up the hill, side by side, they go up into the right-hander, and if you get this done around the outside, yes, he can. That's bravery from Kenneth Batley, and he does get the job done. Malone's going to try follow through as well. He can't quite get up alongside, though, alongside Gibson, but you got to be pretty committed to get through into turns 1 and 2. Batley got the job done around the outside. That's a little bit of a wide moment from Ian Malone there. And has to drop a bit of pace there, drop a bit of track position to now try to catch back up again. We're nearly 15 minutes in. Of course, there's a mandatory pit stop in this series, don't forget as well. So pit strategy always bringing itself to the fore. It certainly was great to watch last week at the Nordschleife. So I wonder how the pit strategy is going to work out today, because none of our guys are making any moves up the front. They're staying put, and they're not going for any moves. We'll hear it now. To see if Michael Dobek fancies a look. He thinks about it. Nom thought about it as well on Florence Arabian, but still no way through. Arabian likes that wide line through there, but Nom is quicker out of that hairpin every single time, but it's just not able to get up alongside Arabian, who carries more speed on the exit of the corner. And they come across the start-finish line to begin another lap. And it's definitely Nom with the pace advantage, as is Naselli. But the fastest man out of a lot of them is actually Dobek by a couple of tenths. So this is interesting to watch from these couple of guys. This Arabian kind of breaking the hole in the air for the rest of these guys. But I think Dobek looks like the dark horse at the moment.
Yeah, I'd love to see him get some kind of result on these guys. There are titans of this series, very good drivers in this car. Now, just quickly, I want to draw your eye toward Ian Haycox and Miro Hraske. It looks like they've both had to pit for some reason, so I think they've had some sort of incident. Haycox and Hraske now running down in the 30s, which is unfortunate for them. They will no doubt be annoyed. But it looks, again, as I say, like we got a pretty good battle between Gradwell and Kern. They're running for 19th and 18th overall. There they are, running a little bit by themselves. It looked like Kern lost the car. Yes, he did. And Gradwell will take that place. That is, it's, you know, honestly, Kern did a great job to hang on to the car and, you know, as he goes ahead and drives it off the track one more time. But it's so easy to have that happen at this track. Another great battle going on still between Perry and Miller. Miller apparently moving himself up the timing tower. Oh, something's happened to Malone. He's had a little bobble. There's the braking zone for that carousel is right at the top of the hill. If you let that go too long, you can get yourself into trouble. That might have been what happened to Malone. So let's have a little replay here. Thank you, Johnny Grabs. Here is Malone. So he's behind Gibson, I believe. And we get to the top of the hill. Oh, a little contact. A little bit of contact there. Yeah, touchy braking zone. Malone just waiting there to make sure he can rejoin safely. We appreciate that, Malone. So Malone now behind Kern, and I believe he will go ahead and make that pass headed down now into the hairpin. And he gets it done, or will, I believe. Might have told some tales out of school there, and Swig is going to have a... They're going to make it 3 wide. Oh, Kern is going to pit, so no worries. One of the longest pits anywhere in racing. We'll see Kern in a month or two when he makes it to his pit stall. But what a race we have so far. Just 18 minutes gone. Hard to believe. It feels like, it feels like we just got started. But as Jack mentioned, we will have some pit stops coming up soon. Some of these drivers has already, dipped into the pits for various reasons because their car received some sort of misadventure. But Jack, as I look at the timing tower here and I see all these 3-digit numbers, it occurs to me that we need more Spec 1 drivers.
I think so, and I think there's some guys in Spec 2 that should be up at the highest end, and we'll have to see what happens if they get promoted or what happens after the season. But Spec 1, I know we're missing a good chunk of drivers today, but even so, it'd be nice to have some more guys in Spec 1. But this is the other two leaders of the various other specs, of course. Simon Meyer leading Spec 2, Chris Murakami leading Masters, and they're right next to each other on the track at the moment. I have noticed as well that Dobek has got past Naselli for third, so there has been a swap there.
Wow.
But no way around apart from that. Dobek is still the fastest guy out of the top 4 at the moment as well, so he is on form at the moment. We're going to have a quick look to them now. There is Dobek. I don't think Naselli put up too much of a fight to let him through, but it seems like Arabian is, I think, holding these guys up just a little bit at the moment. Whether he's just biding his time, maybe he's saving some fuel. Dobek nearly loses the car on the way through the left-hander. Naselli will get through momentum, but he did well to hang on to that. But look at that now. Look at the gap that Aeronom and Forns Arabian have right now. So now Naselli and Dobek nearly have to work together now to bridge that gap back up again. But just that's the fine margin. You lose the car slightly. That is 2 seconds that you've just lost in the space of 1 corner. So really fine margins here. This might be the time now for Aeronom to maybe pounce, try and make a move here, because he's got a gap behind. And he might be able to make this work now. But halfway through the race, still no pit stops for these top guys. I think they're probably going to leave it as late as they can, but definitely one of them is certainly going to peel into pit lane in these next 2 laps. But now there's definitely a split between the top 2 and 3rd and 4th as a result of that small little moment. And you can kind of sense that Aeronom is maybe just teeing up a move here. He's thinking about it. He's going to go for it here. No, he carries a lot of speed towards that corner, but still not able to get around. Look at the difference in lines there. Arabian not able to get the car turned in, and Nob is right with him as they come over the start-finish line to begin lap 13. Is this now the moment for Nob to try it? He's on the outside as they come up towards turn 1. Will he think about it? No, he's not going to have the space to make that a stick. And again, he has to stay behind. So track position here, very, very important. And Forrest Arabian still hanging on. He's led every lap so far. But I think it's only a matter of time before Naselli and Dobek close back into each other. I guarantee you they're definitely working together just to bridge that gap. No point in fighting.
Yeah, well, it'll be definitely interesting to see what happens once the pit stops start to come down. Once people decide to go ahead and stop in for fuel, it is, as you say, they do have to stop. There is a battle going on still between Bertoni, Batley, and Joao Oliveira. Now, I meant to mention this earlier, or excuse me, that's Perry, isn't it? That is Perry, Oliveira, and Bertoni. A little bit thrown off there. I should have known. I should have seen the potatoes, Jack. What a fool I was. Oliveira, as I say, no slouch. Great driver. Did very well yesterday. I think he's new to the series, as I said, but a great driver. Looking forward here from Joao's car toward Perry's potatoes. Joao having a little look at the inside. Maybe throw those potatoes off the outside of the track. Don't think he's quite close enough to get it done this time. But yeah, great race from Dobek. It was a shame to see him have a little bit of a moment there, but he does seem to be recovering. I think you're right. I think they'll be able to catch back up. It looks like they're doing so. But you wonder who is going to blink first and dip right into that pit lane at this part of the lap. We'll see soon enough. And I think we can call them more or less back together. Well, I don't know. It's tough to say on that shot. They look a little bit farther back. Dobek, of course, racing in the number 42 car. Big lover of science fiction is Dobek. Those of you who know what the number 42 represents will know what I'm talking about. As on they go. Now, Meyer has got himself into the lead of Spec 2. Meyer running in the 308 machine there. And he's really had to fight for it. He's had to come up through. Meyer leading Murakami, but Murakami, of course, not going to let him have it, even though they're in two different series. They're in two different classes on track. Looking forward here from Chris Murakami's car at the rear of Meyer's car. They're still racing for that 8th place overall, but Murakami is in the Masters. And then Tusting, who is new to us, I believe, is Tusting in the 299 machine. Second in Spec 2. Great result for him. And Joao Oliveira, who I mentioned a minute ago in 222, is third in Spec 2. In terms of the Masters, it is Murakami, of course, then Batley and Gradwell. Batley and Gradwell battling it out a little bit down the track. Let's see. Well, Batley's got a little bit of a gap on Gradwell, doesn't he? Something like 10 seconds? Getting up toward 10 seconds? I would call that a bit of a gap.
I would too. He's got a lot of space around him, actually. He's got 10 seconds behind and nearly 7 up to these guys, which is Jason Perry, Joao Oliveira, and Andreas Bertoni, who is still in that little train right there. And Perry still leading the train. And Perry, of course, not fighting for position with Joao Oliveira. So he is fighting for position with Bertoni. He likes to start kind of further down the order and work his way through. And he's done that every single week so far, and he's continuing to do that this week with another great recovery up to the top end, or inside the top 10 at the very least. He's on the verge of it. Getting the car turned in nicely compared to the two in front, and Oliveira's nearly scraping the wall on the way out. And again, he's scraping the wall there again. Yeah, Oliveira all the way to the little kink in the left. Now up towards turn 1. Long turn 1 into turn 2. He's having a little look, but he's not enough space to go up the inside through there. But you can kind of sense he's getting the car turned into the apex is a bit nicer compared to the guys in front. And he's just being very patient at the moment. But I wonder, is he going to go for his favorite move here, which is a move into the long left. Wait to see what his exit's going to be like, getting very close to the back of Oliveira there. Might get the exit out of the right because of that. And I don't think he's actually going to be close enough to make a lunge into this next left. But he'll certainly maybe think about it coming into the right. Oliveira's having a little look at Perry. And Bertoni's going to take a tight line, try to get up alongside Oliveira now. And he nearly does so on the way up the drag strip. And then coming straight off the drag strip onto the double right. He's alongside Oliveira here as they come into the braking zone. But I think Oliveira should hang on to that, actually, as they come through the right-hander. He'll have the inside for both right-handers, and he hangs on to the position. So Oliveira defends from Andreas Bertoni.
Wow.
And they carry on as they were. Good defense from Oliveira. But 25 minutes in, it's actually been a rather quiet race in comparison to other rounds. Up at the front, anyways, Bertoni gets a little bit on the grass as soon as I say that. And they carry on. But still, there's been no swap between the top two. And Norma's been happy to follow Arabian. So Arabian, I think, as a result of what's going on, I think he's actually led the most laps this season so far.
Yeah, I'll go along with that. Dobek appears to be falling off of this group a little bit. After we were just singing his praises a minute ago, we've unfortunately doomed him with our commentator's bad luck. But I'm sure he'll be able to catch that up. Yeah, a little bit of a light grid, as we said. Something's happened to Joao Oliveira. He has gone into the pits. He is the first of the top 20 or so to go ahead and pit. There he is in his pit box, taking on a little bit of fuel. I reckon he just decided, why not? And I want to send a little shout out to Roland Wallbank. I'm not sure if he's still driving on track. He should be. Running in 29th overall is Wallbank. He's a lap down, but new to the series. Just wanted to say thanks for joining us, Roland. The Welshman. Look at him go. Always glad to have new faces in the series. And as the series' biggest fan, I do try to shout him out and say thanks for joining us. Normally, we would have about 60 cars, which would be fine at Sonoma. Some other tracks, that is quite a few. Roland here will soon, I'm sure, be passed by this battle of West and Fritcher. He pulls over to the inside to let those two drivers go. But they're both going into the pits. So, your manners were for naught that time, Wallback. But nevertheless, thanks. West and Fritcher into their pits. They will take some fuel. They just pitted out of 5th and 6th, did West and Fritcher. So they're two of our sort of top, more highly placed drivers to go ahead and stop for their pits. This lead group all back together, Arabian, Nam, and Naselli. You wonder, Jack, if this might not be a terrible time for Dobek to go ahead and pit, since he's kind of fallen off of these guys anyway, and they're starting to deal with some traffic. There he is, just there in the rear. Dobek's car, he's just coming around the corner. Maybe just go ahead and stop on into the pits, just to throw a wrench into the works.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be a bad idea for Dobek to dive in, because he is on the pace of the leaders at the moment. If he went for an undercut now, a little bit close with a lap car there on the way out of the left-hander. He's only 3 seconds behind the leader. You can literally see them in front. So I think to bridge that gap, I reckon just maybe take an early pit stop and see what happens. He may as well go for it. He's got loads of space behind. Look at the gap. They've got 20 seconds back to Simon Meyer. So he's really on his own at the moment. It's up to he can kind of make the decisions. I think what he's going to do is maybe just watch what the guys in front do. He doesn't have the benefit of a tow, of course. So he's going to find it hard to actually catch back up here. So we'll wait to see what he does here. If any of the front runners are going to peel into pit lane, that looks like Arabian's going in, as is Naselli. Aaron Nom is going to stay out, and Dobek is going to follow those guys in, which is probably the right choice. But Aaron Nom's going for an overcut, which is always interesting to see as they all peel in. But Aaron Nom stays out and will carry on for an extra lap or two. I think he actually has some more pace, Aaron Nom, so might be a bad choice for him. He's got lots of traffic now. That's not what he really wants. He's got lap traffic in front on his in lap, which is not what you need. You need clear track and a full-on push lap to try and bridge the gap, because this is going to be tight on pit exit, as it always is. But I'm interested to see now. Nom, I think he's got a little bit more pace than the guys than Arabian or Naselli in clean air, but I'm interested to see how this is going to work out with lap traffic now. This is going to hinder him a little bit here. Thankfully, he's going to get them just before the left-hander, but he's going to be pushing absolutely flat out on this next little bit now. As Arabian and Naselli out of the pit lane, a little bit of traffic in the way. Of course, that is for position, so Tusting is under no obligation to move out of the way here. And Naselli has ended up behind him. Not ideal for him. But Arabian hangs on to the track position. Dobek, where he is, just in front of Andreas Bertoni. Get to pit, of course, as well, so those guys will be pitting later on. But Naselli trying his best here to try and get past here, with trying to get past Tusting here. As I said, is under no obligation to actually move out of the way, because this is technically for position. He's going to try and get through here on the inside and make life easier for himself. Up the inside, gets through. Naselli now to P4, chasing after Florence Arabian. But now I'm interested to see, what does Aaron Nom do about this? Does he respond immediately and come into pit lane, or does he stay out and carry on for a few laps here? And it's looking like he's staying out for a few more laps.
Well, one more lap, certainly, at least. Nom, I'm sure he's got... you know, he's won this series multiple times. Plenty good driver is Nom. We have huge strength of field in this series, as you know, because you're committed fans. But of course, Nom's iRating over 7,000, other drivers over 8,000, Naselli over 8,000, Arabian 6,000. So these guys are all very good, very experienced drivers. They know what they're doing. They do make mistakes from time to time, nevertheless. But I'll tell you what is not a mistake, Jack, and that is to choose a livery that is potatoes. So... by no means would that be a mistake. Just about everybody has pitted now. Tusting goes into the pits. Meyer pits out of second. Nom still out. Of course, I think he'll probably have to pit when he comes around next time. But here is the battle between Perry, Jackson, and Haycox just behind. Jackson is going to go ahead into the pits. There he goes. And so now, Perry will have Haycox to contend with in the rear, and they will be looking forward at Joao Oliveira's car, who has sorted himself out from that group. He'll shortly take that place from Tusting, as Tusting is in the pits. But what a race, just like every week. We're now at 32 minutes, so this race will be shaking itself out here shortly. And I believe shortly we're going to see Nom about halfway through with his lap. We should see him go into the pits here shortly. Again, a very long pit lane road. It goes all the way down. Yes, indeed. He does dip into the pits. So he has to drive this hairpin, drive over that mountain over there, up and down, through a couple of hills and dales, through various valleys, and then finally Now, you might be looking forward and thinking to yourself, oh, there's the end of pit lane. What's he talking about? No, 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 no. There's another pit lane. Here we go on pit lane number 2. Unbelievable. Nam will, of course, have, I believe, one of the top slots. He should have slot number 2 right there with that black easy up. There he is. Let's see how long he'll be stopped. He should get himself going here shortly. And we'll see where he comes out. We're looking at Arabian's car. There's Nam's car coming out of the pit ahead. Nam is going to have done it. Nam will be in the lead of this race now, Jack. And not only that, he'll have himself a little bit of a gap on Arabian. He'll still be hot, having just finished a lap, but a second and a half there or thereabouts as a result of that pit shakeup.
That is a brilliant strategy from Aero. No, I knew you had the pace, but those 2 outlaps were absolutely crucial to what he was going to do there, and he's managed to come out in the lead. Arabian P2 a second and a bit behind him. Naselli third, Dobek in fourth, and so it's held position apart from these two. So he couldn't make the move on track, but he's made it in the pit lane, which is brilliant for him. And Andres Bertoni, by the way, has now made it all the way up to P9 after his pit stop. That's an awesome drive from Andres Bertoni once again to get himself in the top 10 on pure merit. He's up now trying to catch up to Murakami and Simon Meyer, who are fighting for position overall, not within their own class. Simon Meyer still comfortably in the lead in Spec 2, Murakami the same in the Masters category, but I didn't expect the gap to be that big between him and Arabian, and he certainly made an overcut strategy work, which is an interesting strategy. You don't see it too often. So we saw some people try it at the Nordschleife. It didn't work last week, but it's certainly worked out this week. Here's Jason Perry, Dean Haycock's fighting for position. This is for P12. Into the outside line here, on the way into the right-hander, goes late on the brakes, and will get it done before the corner. Great job from Ian Haycox all the way around the outside. And Perry trying to get up alongside him, but actually can't do it. So great speed carried by Ian Haycox. He moves up into P12, and by the looks of it, just looking at the times, that Nom just has the pace today. He was stuck behind all the way through, and those 2 outlaps must have been absolutely rapid from him. He's actually building the gap now over Florence Arabian, but there's a little bit of traffic for him now.
You wonder if he wasn't, Jack, just that whole time sort of sizing up his enemy. Oh, no, is that Jacobson off the track? Oh, dear. Not 100% sure who that was. I think that might... No, it's not Jacobson. There he is. Stefani, maybe? Davidson. Thank you, Johnny Grabs. I wasn't, I was doing a poor job of recognizing my liveries. We'll have a little bit of a replay here. I think he just lost the rear of the car going around one of these right-handers. So, yeah, it's so hard. You get to the top of this hill, and you just run out of track. Done it a million times. Oh, dear. There was nearly a knock-on effect there, just right in front of the leaders. We just saw Nam go by with Arabian behind and Naselli all over the rear of Nam's car. I think it's... Well, Arabian has closed up, so the gap is now only a second up to Nam, so he may be able to get some work done. We probably have 2 laps to go, maybe 3. Maybe able to get close. Naselli might be able to get close enough to have some... to get some work done on Arabian. We'll have to watch and see. But I think Nam has really just thrown down an unbelievable hand as a result of that pit shakeup. There he goes. Yeah. Now, Murakami in the lead of the Masters, the 901 machine. Murakami running 7th overall. He's just got Bertoni behind. And we mentioned this a moment ago, but Bertoni charging through the field. He's gained 24 places today, Bertoni. That's what our timing software says in the 11 machine. As Murakami boots one of those witches' hats out of the way, as some call them. Safety cones, as they're known in other parts of the world. And there's Tusting just in the rear, running in 9th overall. Tusting is leading Spec 2. And Tusting leading Spec 2 from Oliveira, from Meyer. And in the Masters, it is Batley in P2, followed by Gradwell, running down in 17th and 18th overall. So battles all over the track. If you've ever thought about doing any kind of sim racing, I highly recommend this series. As I say, I am the series' biggest fan. Oh, again, let me go ahead and, before I forget, Jack, which I often do, Let me remind you all to subscribe to Apex Racing TV on YouTube for tons more sim racing action, and hit that bell icon to be notified when we go live. It won't always be me, but often it's me. You can also find us on Twitch at twitch.tv/ApexRacingTV, and of course, do follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. All those usernames are just Apex Racing TV. It's always this good with the Weekend Warriors. These guys, and Jack, as you know, but viewers, I want you to know as well, not only are these guys just given every ounce that they possibly can on track, they're also very kind to one another, which to me is important. You know, so often in this kind of racing, you see people just bumping one another off the track without a care for sort of skill or any kind of decorum. Not this group. These guys they're all on the Discord together. They're sharing setups. They're sharing tips. Everybody wants good racing on track, but not, you know, that sort of elbows out, I'm going to get mine sort of attitude that you so often see. So it's one of the many reasons to be a fan of the Weekend Warriors. So we've got just a few minutes left to go. That battle between West and Fritcher is going to go the length of the race. Fritcher looking here at the rear of West's car. I believe Fritcher was ahead previously, and West now has gotten around Jeff Fritcher, but is not able to shake him. These guys running for P5. Fritcher would dearly love to take that P5 away from West. I wonder if he'll be able to do it. He'll certainly try something over the next few seconds as the race is winding down. And speaking of winding down, Nam is now halfway through what should be, well, he's going around the double right-hander, but I'm not sure if he's going to get the checker this time or if he'll get, we'll have to see. I think we might have one more lap. Now, I'm not very good at math. More of an arts and humanities kind of guy, Jack, you understand. But we'll see what happens when Nam crosses the finish line this final time. I'm not seeing anybody in sort of position to try any sort of a hero move. Naselli and Arabian, neither of them are close enough to try a hero move up the inside on the other, so that's probably going to be our podium. The question is whether we will get another lap here. I don't think we will. I think this is going to be the end of the race. And I think Aero Nam is going to take the win. There he goes. There he goes. Aero Nam will take the win with a brilliant pit strategy over Arabian and Naselli. Arabian's got to be a little bit frustrated with that, having led so many laps. Dobek now across the finish line in fourth. That battle between West and Fritcher will come to a close now, and West will take it. P5 over Fritcher. Murakami will take this Masters. Murakami, they're battling with Bertoni. Bertoni trying to get by on the final hairpin. Bertoni makes it stick. I kind of think that Murakami just decided, okay, this guy's going to try something. I'm going to let him go ahead and do it. Very, you know, experienced driver is Murakami. He's no slouch. There is Tusting, who will take the win in Spec 2 in the 299 machine, just ahead of Joao Oliveira. Great result, Joao. And Simon Meyer, whom, if memory serves, I believe is our points leader, unless I'm very much mistaken, which is impossible. I don't make mistakes.
He's
it's
now
just
the point leader, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had J.W. Miller was the points leader coming into this race, but should now be Myers. He's just a point behind going into this race.
There.
So now, and of course in Spec 1, it'll be all changed because with David Boehm not being here this week and Ian Haycock's finishing further down the order, Aero Nam should also be now the new leader in Spec 1. So plenty of change. Not exactly sure what's going to happen in the Masters, of course, because Antonio Reyes is not here this week. Murakami taking the win in Masters, of course. Batley in second, so I think it actually should be Batley leading the championship in the Masters. So plenty of swapping in all the championships, but Aero Nam, very little actually overtakes on track in comparison to most events at Weekend Warriors, but making the overtake stick in the pit lane. Great job from him. But once again, Andres Bertoni from a lowly grid position gets himself a great result, P7, and a great overtake in the last hairpin, I must say. But great job to Chris Murakami for seeing him at the last moment, giving him the place. Here is the official result. Aero Nam takes the victory and his first one of the season. Florence Arabian in second, just behind him, and he led most of that race. Florence Arabian lost it all in the pit lane. Maurizio Naselli in P3, Dobek in P4, and Bobby West holding on against Jeff Fritcher for P5. Then Andres Bertoni in P7, great drive from him. And then Chris Murakami taking the win In the Masters category, John Tusting on his first race takes his first win as well in Spec 2. Yao Oliveira taking second in class as well. Ian Haycox in P11. Then Simon Meyer taking the podium, last podium slot in the Spec 2 standings. Jason Perry, J.W. Miller in P14, just behind Simon Meyer, and that'll be points lead for Simon Meyer going into the next round as well. Miro Razki, Jeff Jacobson, Ken Batley, and Ian Malone. Then further down, Tom Gradwell, Ian Gibson, Paul Jackson, David Swig, Bob Kern, Phil Kraus, Darren Kuhn, Paolo Breme, Roland Wallbank, and David Davidson. And then just a few more, Alexander Roggenbuch, then Jerry McAravey, Robert Elliott, and Mark Guillen, who was DNF earlier on. But it's again a bit of a quieter round, I would actually say, in comparison to most. But I think it's going to be. I think we're going to have some good interviews. I think Aeronov is going to be very pleased, and I know the Estonians don't tend to get too excited in interviews, but I'm sure he'll be pretty happy with his performance. So I'm going to actually drag in Aeronom for a quick word after this race. Aeronom joins us in the commentary box right now. Aero, brilliant job from yourself today. It seemed like it was quite tricky to overtake out there, but you managed to pull off a great pit strategy and take the win.
Yeah, it was a little bit difficult to follow, and it was too risky to overtake. I was trying a few times, but I decided to wait till the pit stop.
So was that always the plan, to go for an overcut strategy? Because it seemed like you had the pace over Forens, and was it the plan to always go a bit longer than him and see what happens?
I think we had about the same pace. If you look at the quali, it was very close. So yeah, it just happened that I was behind him, and no one behind me was able to overtake me. So I was just stay there.
Yeah, seemed like it was a good strategy call anyway to take the win. It also means you should also take the lead in the championship. I know it's very, very early in the championship, but must be feeling pretty confident now after that win.
Yeah, last season or 2 seasons ago it was about the same, but yeah, at the end didn't go that well. So let's see.
Yeah, well, Aero, thanks very much for having a quick chat with us. Congratulations on your win, and we will see you next week.
Yeah, thanks guys.
Thank you. So, Aaron, I'm not giving away his secrets in that one. But Jim, I think Florence Arabian is waiting as well in the interview waiting area. See if we can have a chat with him.
Well, here he is. Congratulations on your P2 finish today, Florence. How did it feel out there?
Really warm. The track was treacherous compared to practice and qualifying. We were running laps that were a second and a half slower.
Yeah, I was going to say 2 seconds. I mean, weren't some of the qualifying times down in like the 141s?
Nines, yeah. Unfortunately, Aero wasn't able to get his time in. He had the technical difficulties, but I was seeing him put in some 141 nines.
Well, he certainly managed to make some things happen during the race today. So you led most of the race. I don't want to bring up a touchy subject, but you led a lot of the race, and then it kind of fell apart as of the pit strategy. What are your thoughts?
I was a sitting duck. All I could do is either drive as fast as I can or try to slow him down and get the pack fighting, but I decided to go as fast as I could, and Aero saved fuel despite chasing me.
Yeah, well, these things certainly do happen. I'm not sure what you could have done either, except, you could have just, like you say, tried to slow down and let somebody pass, and maybe you can do some fuel saving. But yeah, I'm not sure what else you could have done, but you guys all drove a great race together. It was great to watch.
Well, I wouldn't say great to watch. We were aligned, all 4 cars the whole way almost. But, yeah, this is a problem we're seeing is when we're playing the game right, you end up having a boring race. When David's here, we tend to fight each other as much as possible. So it doesn't help us, but it makes it a little more exciting.
Well, I'm afraid I'm going to have to disagree. It was pretty exciting. For example, Dobek was able to hang on. A great battle back in the rear in the results between West and Fritcher. You know, speaking as a fan, battles going on all over the timing tower. Might have been a little bit more boring if you're out in the front all day long, as you say, driving in a line. But you know, there's the other problem, which is sometimes when people try to go for moves late in the race, people get knocked off the track, and that's not good either.
That is true. That is true. At this point, a lot of us know each other, so we tend to be a little more respectful than the usual Formula V practice and race sessions. You know.
Yeah, these things do happen. Well, Florence, congratulations on your P2 finish today. It's maybe not exactly what you wanted, but plenty of racing left to go in the series.
Oh, it was a perfect race, nonetheless. Even if I didn't win, put second place is good enough.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, congratulations. Thanks so much for stopping to talk to us, and we'll see you racing again next week.
Thanks for having me.
Well, there he was, Florence Arabian, your second place finisher today. One of the very fast drivers in this series. We have many fast drivers in this series. Thank you once again for joining us. A happy 4th of July out there for all of those of you who are celebrating such. Do not make any mistakes with your fireworks. Those can be costly and painful. Trust me, I know. Thank you so much to my man Jack Canan for helping me out today on the broadcast, as of course did Jonathan Grabowski, aka Johnny Grabs. I hope to see you again with us next week for the SRF Weekend Warriors presented by RaceVoice. It's always this good, guys. Come on, join us.